Welcome everybody, SF Live episode number 78 today. My name is Kai Hoffman, I'm the CEO of the Soar Financial Group. In a few short seconds I'll be joined by Dave Cole. He's the president and CEO of EMX Royalty Corp. And before we get started with our interview with Dave and get caught up on the latest activities at EMX, I want to remind you this is an interactive format. Please use hashtag AskEMX, that's the company's ticker on the Toronto and NYSE Stock Exchange, for your questions. Also, really important, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, turn on the alert buttons, give us a like and a thumbs up if you like our content. Leave some feedback underneath the video. Actually, the past EMX video we did actually receive quite a few comments, so really appreciate that feedback. And Dave, I know, likes reading it as well. But now let's switch over to Mr. Dave Cole. Dave, how are you doing? How are things?
Doing super well, Kai. Great to see you. Happy to be back.
Yeah, like back in April, we talked last. I think it was April 8th or 9th, and things were still a bit tense. Like we're still trying to figure out how everything was playing out this year. And I have to start with that one thing. Like I rewatched our interview this morning, and we were joking about $2,000 gold. We were saying, oh, Ross Beatty and all the gurus were calling for $2,000 gold later this year. Well, it happened in June, July. Like it happened way sooner than everybody expected. Let's talk about how it is affecting EMX. We'll dive into more project details, but give us a general overview, maybe of EMX first for the new listeners and viewers, and then how is the gold price affecting you right now?
Yeah, so absolutely higher metal prices is driving our generative business. And you know how passionate I am about our generative business. We love to generate royalties. That's the most accretive way to accumulate royalties around the world. And high metal prices has meant that we've been selling projects right and left. We've now sold 50 projects, creating 50 new royalties in 18, 19, and so far in 20. We're setting records now in 20 for the most number of deal flows we've ever done. So just enhanced deal flow because of strong metal prices. We preempted that by acquiring lots of prospective mineral rights, mostly in Fennoscandia, as well as the Western United States and Canada, in preparation for a metal price move. You know, from us discussing this previously, we love to take advantage of downturns to acquire prospective mineral rights inexpensively, add value by doing good geology, get them sold to an industry that's hungry for discovery opportunity. And that's been the biggest impact since we spoke last.
No, it's been crazy. And EMX name's been popping up everywhere. I had a call with EMX Minerals the other day. EMX, you've entered the projects to them. Like your name is everywhere. Let's dial back just a little bit. Like how are you generating those assets? Like, of course, you had the advantage of being active in the bear market, but then again, like you're working with majors as well. Like what's your competitive advantage there?
Yeah, the answer to that question's been the same since the very beginning, and that's people. And our alpha is economic geology talent. These are entrepreneurial economic geologists with strong business acumen that have been working around the world, and we leverage that talent into a portfolio of mineral assets. And we've been doing it for 17 years.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And like when we spoke in April, you had roughly 120 projects in the portfolio. Where are we sitting right now? What's been happening?
I know it's over 200. I don't know the exact number, but we added 60 projects when we purchased the private prospect generation portfolio from Perry English in the Superior Province, which is a fantastic place to be, right in central Canada, Ontario and Quebec. A lot of exploration dollars going to those properties. He wrote very similar deals to the types of deals that we write, where he gets share payments, cash payments. This portfolio that we bought from Perry English will pay for itself, be profitable, in fact, at today's share prices in 3.5 years, plus the long-term upside of all the royalties out of that portfolio. So of the 60 properties, 39 were royalties right away. We've sold a few more subsequently, so we're over the 40 mark now with respect to royalties in that part of Canada. Planting the flag in Canada, which was something we've been wanting to do for a long time. We'll utilize that portfolio as a catalyst to continue our organic growth, acquire more mineral rights there. We have a strong economic geologist, Sergio Catalini, that is going to lead the charge there for us, and we're very, very pleased with his talent base. We also added 18 royalties in Chile. That was a distressed sale. We got those quite inexpensively as well. And so those have bumped our numbers up, but we've also been aggressive at acquiring battery metal assets, gold assets, copper assets in Fennoscandia. In Fennoscandia, we're one of the largest mineral rights holders in that whole part of Europe. And also in the Western United States, we've been quite aggressive, specifically in Idaho, where we're now the third largest claimant mining claimant in Idaho. We have over 10,000 mining claims in the Western United States now that we have mineral property exposure to.
That's fantastic. That's insane. That's yeah. Your Scandinavia keeps popping up everywhere as well. Like that's one I've been noticing quite a lot. Let's talk about financials for a second as well. Like I want to talk about the Perry English royalties and like any projects that jump out there as well. But let's talk about cap structure or the capital side of things first. Run us through your financials a bit. Like I noticed in Q1 you generated revenue of a positive or cash flow actually of $2.1 million. In Q2 that dropped. You actually lost $3 million. So like, there's quite a bit of fluctuation there. Just run us through that and also run us through your like royalty generation costs. Like how do you define those?
Yeah. So the bulk of the variance in those numbers on a quarter-to-quarter basis is because we're a Canadian company, yet we hold the dominant amount of our funds actually in USD, held in Canadian banks, but in USD. And so a lot of those quarterly fluctuations is how the USD fluctuates against the CAD because that's always marked to market. Also, our share portfolio, which right now stands around 25 million Canadian dollars, is also marked to market. So those can have substantial impact on the quarterly numbers. We do though, just to be fully transparent with you, Kai, we spend more money growing our portfolio than we bring in any given quarter. From doing this generative business, which we believe is distinctly accretive. That's distinctly accretive. We want to take advantage of the opportunity to acquire prospective mineral rights, and a lot of the costs that goes into royalty generation is salary. Because it's smart people executing on the ground. And before it gets to the point where we're spending big dollars doing drilling or heavy duty geophysical surveys, et cetera, those projects are typically sold off. So the heavy lifting is done by the counterparty on a go-forward basis, whereas we're building it more on the intellectual side and leveraging that through the mineral property control, ownership or exploration licenses with governments, et cetera. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. No, thanks for clarifying that for us, and
Sure.
it makes a lot of sense. Generative business, of course, is important, but you hinted at like initially drilling your own projects. Are you working on any projects yourself right now? Is there anything you're working on?
Yeah, typically, we don't do that. Early on in the history of our prospect generation activities with the company, I would have companies say, well, if this project were really good, you drill it yourself. And I'd say, nope, that's not our business. Our business is to acquire these, add value, and sell them. We sell the best ones. We sell the mid-tier ones. And of course, I believe in all of our product. But, occasionally we drill a hole in a project for specific reasons to demonstrate the stratigraphy or the structure to enhance the marketing of the asset. But those are rare holes that we drill. Generally speaking, we like to build geologic models, compile the existing data, add to that data through mapping, surface work, and then sell those projects on to an industry that's, particularly right now, hungry for discovery opportunities.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a run for projects right now, and let's let's talk about that run for projects. Like, where do you see the most interest right now? Obviously, you're copper gold focused. Like, what are people or company CEOs or like even shell companies like flocking to? Like, where do you see the most inbounds coming from?
Well, of course, there's robust interest in precious metals right now, Kai. We know that. And so we're seeing a lot of folks coming out of the woodwork, capital coming out of the woodwork. Capital is on the sidelines that's funding junior companies and major companies looking for quality gold and silver products. So that's certainly robust. But there's always a market for a good copper project. And the major companies and a lot of folks in the business long-term are bullish on copper for quite good fundamental reasons. The use of copper just continues to escalate.
No, I wish we were at the Park Hyatt bar right now. I'd love to pick your brain on sort of the scoundrels that are reaching out right now and the companies you are turning away potentially. Like, what does a partner have to bring to the table? Like, let's talk about that for a second. Like, there are a lot, as I said, scoundrels out here in Vancouver especially, or Toronto as well, that are reaching out. They're trying to make a quick buck because you might have a project in a prospective area. What are you looking for? Like, what's your focus there?
Well, just to simplify that, Kai, I mean, it's all about people. You want to work with people that you enjoy working with and that you're proud to work with. Yeah. And of course, they have to have the capital behind them, but that usually comes.
Okay, so let's assume you meet somebody, you like him, they're geo, they're setting up a new company, they're looking for an asset, but they don't have the cash yet or the standing. Would you be willing to take a shot at?
So, we've helped folks like that. I would put Chad Peters in that camp, and
Oh
we
yeah.
think a lot of Chad. And so we, helped Chad establish a Rolodex and explain to his potential investors and introduce him to potential new investors what the goal of the company was and what the anatomy of the projects that we vended in, plus the other projects that he acquired elsewhere, all of which we're very pleased to have exposure to via our share ownership in Ridgeline. So that's an example. And I think Chad can do a great job. He's
Yeah.
very fired up
Yeah,
guy.
I've met him a couple times. We've had some good conversations as well. And Chad, by the way, is the CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. They just recently listed, so that's a good idea actually to talk about that as well. They share the Leeville projects. I'm not sure like how they share it because you own quite a bit of the Leeville royalty that Nevada Gold Mines is working on and exploring actively, and Ridgeline has sort of the extension of that exploration package. I think what they're working on. So, good opportunity to start talking more about projects. Maybe we can talk about Leeville for a second because I know you dedicated a slide on it in your presentation, and then we can talk about the Perry English royalties that you acquire in the projects and dive a little deeper on those as well if you want. Like talk to Leeville about us. No,
Yeah.
talk about Leeville with us.
Sure. Happy to. Hats off to Barrick. They came in to take over the joint venture with Newmont, now called Nevada Gold Mines. So they took over management of the Leeville property as part of that new joint venture. There's a lot of synergies that are contained within that joint venture that's beneficial to the communities and beneficial to the royalty holders, et cetera, as more gold's going to come out of the ground. But it also gave an opportunity for folks with fresh eyes to review the geology. And Newmont was doing a great job. They were finding lots of new gold mineralization within our royalty footprint and in the ground immediately adjacent to our royalty footprint, with ongoing discoveries at Turf, at Four Corners, at the new deposit called Full House, the Rita K corridor, et cetera. And there's a number of deposits there that are coalescing. All of this mineralization, by the way, is down stratigraphic dip from the Carlin mine itself. And early in my career, when I worked for Newmont, I was involved in some of the exploration work along the Leeville fault system, identifying this mineralization. So it's fun to now be able to see some of the value creation there coming in with monthly checks. But since Barrick's taken over, they've just been finding a lot of gold within our footprint. Now there's 3 shafts that access the underground infrastructure in addition to 2 declines which intersect. And so they've got all the ventilation they need. They have the haulage capacity they need. Things look good on that property.
What are the royalty terms on the property?
So we have a 1% overriding gross smelter royalty.
And that's generating roughly how much? Can you give specifics there?
It's currently cash flowing around $1.5 million USD. We think it's likely for that to increase given the amount of gold that they have found within the footprint, and the fact that they have new capacity on the property. And it's paid $13.9 million cumulative since we've owned the royalty.
Okay, interesting. Let's stay in Nevada for a second. You got you got an interest in the Rawhead Gold and Silver Mine there as well. Back in April, you couldn't say too much about it because we're still waiting for a 43-101 report. It hasn't changed too much, but you guys put out a press release the other day about Rawhide, and catch us up on that and give us just a little more color. I'm trying to get some stuff out of you there.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Right now we're pouring approximately 125,000 gold equivalent doré ounces per day on the property. We did come out with a press release that highlighted the increased crushing capacity.
125 ounces a day, right? You said 125,000. So
that is incorrect. I apologize. 125 ounces per day. And thank you for correcting me on that one. We're very pleased with that investment. I cannot give guidance with respect to how much cash flow is going to come from that good property at this point in time, or talk about the resources on the property. But we're very bullish, and we think that's a fabulous investment. We're harvesting the current high precious metal prices. 43-101 report is in progress and will be published. And after that comes out, we can go into great detail.
Okay, fantastic. That was Nevada for us. Like, I'm really interested in, like, your Ontario assets and what's going on. Any royalties or projects that stick out that you have a royalty on now that we should briefly mention?
So here's the funny thing, we're so busy right now. I've not had the opportunity to really tear into the details of these. I know that Sergio's on top of it. I know that we're along strike of a lot of gold mineralization. We have a big footprint from a hectarage standpoint with lots of different royalties in the district. And I know that we have cash payments and share payments that are coming in right and left from all the different counterparties that are working on that. This investment, we paid 3.5 million CAD for it, will break even. It'll actually be positive cash flow within 3.5 years, in addition to the upside that's built in with the royalties. And so we're quite pleased about that. That's probably the high level.
Okay. Another like really important royalty is the Timok royalty you have in Serbia. Give us a quick update on that, because I've noticed in the presentation you're mentioning now production in 2022. When we spoke in April, it was supposed to be 2021. Can you give us an update there? Did we see any COVID delays, or what's the plan there?
I think the 2022 number in our presentation is just our guys being conservative. The memorandum of understanding signed between Xinjiang, the operator, and the Serbian government has it going into production in late 21. That would mean that we would get cash flow the following quarter, so that would spill over into 22, but somewhere around that time frame, and that's from the upper high grade zone. My understanding is that they have 2 shafts that are being advanced, twin shafts, in addition to twin declines, which are going in to develop the underground infrastructure necessary to further explore, develop, and produce the upper zone. Now, of course, the big prize is the lower zone, which is 1.7 billion tons of 0.86% copper and 0.18 grams per ton gold, and almost certainly growing because there's a dozen drill rigs turning on the property. And the infrastructure that will be established to mine the upper zone will enhance the economics and the development of the lower zone thereafter. And that's when our royalty becomes a flat out company maker. Okay. We have a 0.5% royalty that covers the whole project. We have additional royalties on the next license to the west at Brestovac West, which has some fantastic anomalies and some mineralized drill intercepts on it. That's a 2% royalty on gold and silver and a 1% royalty on all other metals. And then we have a further 0.5% royalty to the north within the Timok complex as well. So we have a portfolio of royalties in that extraordinarily well-endowed magmatic complex. It's Europe's largest historic copper and gold producing region, actually, and it's the site now of one of the most significant copper gold discoveries and advancements in the world. That is the company maker in our portfolio.
Okay, perfect. I'm saving a couple of questions for the Q&A here, because we got a couple of questions in through Twitter, and I don't want to be redundant here. So I have two more from my end, and one is if you scroll out the map and just take a bird's eye view of the world, like what royalties or properties stand out to you right now that we haven't talked about yet in your portfolio that we should mention briefly, and also like would you actually sell any royalties directly? Like, I know you're about generating royalties, but if anybody would come to you, is like, hey, I'm really interested in that rawhide package or in the royalty on Timok, would you just sell that?
So we get folks pitching us to buy royalties from us all the time. And the simple, direct, and honest answer is we're not in the business of selling royalties. We're in the business of accumulating a royalty portfolio. It's clear when you look at royalty companies within the sector, many of whom have fantastic compounded annual growth rates. This is a fantastic business model. They traded at increasingly high premiums if they own more royalties and have more cash flow. So it behooves a royalty company to own as many royalties and have as much cash flow as possible, because your multiple and the value of each incremental royalty within that portfolio will increase as you grow. So it's nonsensical to sell them unless someone offered you a crazy price. Then, of course, we would consider that. But generally speaking, we're not in the business of selling royalties, Kai.
Good. Any other projects in your portfolio that are standing out right now? Any drill results that you'd like to talk about or stuff?
So just a couple of days ago, Palladium One made an announcement of some very thick, medium to low grade, but nonetheless quite thick intercepts on a property where we have a 2% royalty where 1% can be bought out. So we would be left with a 1% royalty. We're very pleased with that. That's the Kaukua project in Finland. And we think that could become a significant palladium, platinum, gold, copper, nickel resource. And hats off to Palladium One. We think they're doing a great job. They have an exploration protocol that involves utilizing induced polarization, geophysical surveys, and geologic mapping to identify targets. And thus far, when they come in and drill those, they're finding metal. And the strike length on those and the size and the breadth of the geophysical anomalies suggests that this could be a big system. We're very, very, very pleased to have a royalty on